Hello, welcome to Angular Complete Series Part 10 Services, represented by tutorial polls. What is a service? In simple words, we can say services are singleton objects that get instantiated only once during the lifetime of an Angular application. But this is not completely true. Services are a great way to share data between components that don't know each other. Services can be used to implement shareable or dedicated application logic. From a developer's point of view, we can summarize it by saying, in Angular, services are injectable classes used to share data, store information, make HTTP calls, and encapsulate business logic. Let's create our first service and name it as math service. To create a service, execute the command ng generate service math or ng space g space s space math and hit enter. Here G stands for generate and S stands for service. Alright, as you can see, our command has created two files, math.service.spec.ts and math.service.ts. Math.service.spec.ts, again a unit test bed file. Let's delete it as of now, as we are not writing test cases as yet. Now open the math.service.ts and see again. Our service is a plain exported class. It is injectable decorator that is marking this class as a service. As you can see, by default in Angular CLI, we get provide in root option configured under injectable decorator. And if we see here, injectable decorator is imported from the Angular core. Provide in root means service should be made available from the root module. Let's understand first how a service is resolved in Angular. As you can see here, for example, we have four modules. That is module A, module B, module C and D. Each of these modules have their own providers array. Also, if you see here, module D and C are importing module B and module B is further importing module A. Let's say I have a component in module D which is injecting a service. Angular will resolve this service by looking into the providers of this module D first. If it finds in module D, then it will resolve. Else, it will look into the providers of imported modules into the current module. In this example, module D is importing module B, so it will look into the providers of module B. Again, it will repeat the same process. If it finds the service in providers of module B, it will resolve the service. Or else, it will look into the providers of imported modules. And the lookup continues. But here, for example, I have added this service in module B, so it will find the service in module B and it will abort the lookup operation. So we can say for service, Angular tries to find the injected service in current module's provider and then in the providers of imported modules. Let's also see here in another example. Again, we have couple of modules which are importing each other. Module A imports B, C and D, and then module B is importing E and E is importing F and G. Let's first see what does provide in root does here. It says add the current service in the providers of root module, that is app module in our case. Now let's say if we have a component in module G which is injecting math service, Angular will start looking for the service in modules from current module all the way up to root module. And as provide in root has added our service in root module, it will always resolve from there, that is from root module. It means irrespective of where we are injecting the service, it will always be resolved from root module. Which further meaning that there will always be single instance of this service, that is math service. So we can say when we add a service in the providers of a module will create and share the same instance for all injections of the service. When we are resolving the service from the same module, all the injected places will get the same instance. Thus here resolving from root module always ensures that there is only one instance of math service in complete lifespan of application. Alright, let's now add two simple methods in math service, that is add, which will simply return the addition of two supplied arguments. Let's type public add input parameter A and input parameter B colon and specify the return type, which will be a number in our case. Specifying public access modifier explicitly exposes this method outside. We will see what happens when we mark this method as private. Open and close brackets and return A plus B. Let's add quickly subtract method also. So public subtract input A number and input B number. Return type as number and return A minus B as result. Alright, now let's inject this service in our user detail component. Let's first remove all the additional hooks except constructor and ngOnInit and remove the console log from ngOnInit. Remove the interfaces from the component and also remove the imports from Angular core. Now in constructor type private underscore math service colon math service, the class reference, and resolve it by pressing Ctrl plus space. Press enter for our math service path. That's it. Here notice you can give any variable name but prefer the same for the sake of readability, and you can skip this private access modifier, but using private makes it safe for further exposure. Underscore was added by the convention of private members. Prefer prefixing underscore in private member functions. Alright, service is injected. Now let's use our math service to perform the addition of two numbers. Here under ngOnInit declare a variable let result equals to this dot underscore math service dot add. Notice it shows a method that can receive two arguments of type number. Pass in the numbers as 20 and 30 and log the result into the console. So console.log result. Notice here, if we try to pass string values or any value which is not of type number, you get an error because we have marked input arguments as of type number. Also, if you hover over add method, it will tell you that the return type is number for this method. But in simple cases like this, you can skip return type on the function. TypeScript will make out return type based on type of result. Let's remove the return type and hover on our add method again. See, still it is of type number. Also observe if marking this method as private, function has been grayed out because TypeScript compiler know that this function is nowhere in use. Secondly, if you go to user detail component, you see here it is showing error because it is not finding the add function definition under math service. Let's revert it and make it public back. Always use access modifiers and also always mark methods as private which you don't want to expose outside the class. Alright, let's run the application and see the console. Type ngserve. Now our application is running, we can open the browser. So let's open the browser and type localhost colon 4200 and open the console window. So in order to open console window, you can press F12 and you see it has logged. Awesome. We have created our service and consumed it. Good job. On the similar lines, you can use other service methods. Now let's see what happens when we remove option provide in root. Remove it, save and see the browser console. It's an error and that is coming from the injector because Angular could not resolve the service from any module. And we know because math service does not belong to any module now. To resolve this, either add back the provide in option or explicitly add the service in providers of a module of your choice. Let's first add the service in app module. So add providers in app module, then add the math service and resolve the path. Save application and see the console. It is working because our service belongs to app module itself now. And our component also belongs to app module. It gets resolved from its own providers. Awesome. Let's move the service to core module. Add providers, then add math service, resolve the path and save and check the browser console. It's working again and log the result in console as expected. How it got resolved here? As we know already, Angular looked into the providers of app module first because our component that is injecting the service belongs to app module. When Angular did not found my service in the app module, it looked into the imported modules. Here we have core module as imported already, so it will resolve from there. And as a result, it finds our my service in core module, so it resolved. Moving forward, we might not be using provide in root option because first it makes clean and clear adding service in module of your choice. Here we have already created core module dedicated to services only. Second, it gives you more control on services. Alright, now we know what is service, how to create it and how to consume it. So that was it for this lecture. See you in the next video. Thank you and keep watching.